Well, good morning, good morning. Good morning from Massachusetts. I'm Jennifer from English with Jennifer. If you're joining me for the very first time, I welcome you. If you're coming back, thank you so much. And I'm going to do a quick check of my audio and video on my laptop. If you can see me well and hear me well, give me a thumbs up, please. Let me know that everything is okay. It looks like we're in good shape, yes? Well, it is just after 9 o'clock in the morning here. I wonder where you are and what time it is for you. In any case, I thank you for taking time out of your day, out of your afternoon, out of your evening. I know some people stay up late to catch these lives, and for that I'm grateful. If you're watching the recording, thank you still for taking time out of your day to study with me. We have about, I always promise 30 minutes, but usually turns into 60. So we have roughly an hour or less to study together today. And remember, if you would like to join the chat, just click join and you become a member of my channel. One of the perks is being able to participate in the live chat at these monthly live streams. After the live stream, I will create a set of tasks, follow-up tasks based on the practice that we do together right now. And so members can get additional practice through practice tasks, and I post them on the community tab, and I personally check them. So if that sounds beneficial to you, then click join. You can do the chat, get the tasks. You get access to a playlist of previously recorded live streams from the past, and a few other wonderful perks. So good reasons to click join, okay? There's some new members who joined. I want to welcome them. Thank you, thank you. And I have some exciting news that I'd like to share. First, let me work some magic and show you my screen. And we'll get started with some announcements. Two, one new, one old. First of all, I've decided to make a pronunciation toolkit free at the present time. I'd like to share it with you. So you just need to do a few clicks to get it. So it's a free, totally free pronunciation toolkit. You get an MP3 recording with my model, a PDF text so you can follow along, and there's a short how-to video. I'll show you in a second where you can get it very easily because I know that's a long URL. Second of all, I'm always on Patreon, so if you are B2 and higher, let's say high intermediate to advanced, I welcome you on Patreon. We have a category called lifelong learners. These are people who study with me on an ongoing basis from month to month. We have 2 classes a month. Each class is 75 minutes long, so about an hour of study, 15 minutes of Q&A. I offer pre- and post-lesson tasks, so there's plenty to keep you busy, but not just busy, but productive on your path towards your language goals each month. You get the community interaction because as you share your work through the posts, other members might be commenting or contributing, making suggestions. So it's not just interaction with me, but interaction with other lifelong learners. You also get some private messaging with me if you have a question. We focus on all skills. So keep that in mind. The live streams here on YouTube are great, but it is me talking to you. If you really love to have that interaction with me, video cameras on, mics on, Patreon is the place to do that, okay? All right, so let me jump over to my screen here and show you. So this is my channel page. I updated the link so that the main link goes to my pronunciation toolkit. You click on this, boop, and this opt-in page comes up. There's me, and this is my pronunciation toolkit. Okay, so you can gain clearer pronunciation by increasing your accuracy with vowel sounds. I give a lot of attention to vowel sounds in general. I have a whole playlist on vowel sounds. This goes beyond the playlist so that let's say you've watched the playlist, you understand the mechanics, but you still need additional practice. You need to work on your own on achieving greater accuracy. You can do that here. So you get an MP3 recording, a PDF text to follow along, and a short how-to video. So just open Put your name and email in, click send me the toolkit, and you'll get the download link. And it is free at the present time. So please consider doing that. Come to my page, click on the link, and you'll get your pronunciation toolkit. All right. One thing I ask or invite all my members to do here on YouTube is send in questions and requests. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll try to keep up with questions and comments. Okay. Hopefully my members will be joining me. Okay, hopefully some of you are already clicking on that pronunciation toolkit. Get it while it's free, guys. Okay, it's my way of trying to help you. Beyond live streams, beyond playlists, what else can I do to support your language learning? Okay, this is the dates in November are the November 10th and 17th. November 10th and 17th, okay? All right, we talked about the toolkit. We talked about how to post questions. So let me do one thing at a time. I'm going to scroll open here. A couple of questions did come in from viewers. If time allows, by the way, I'll give you a taste of the pronunciation toolkit, but I'm going to jump into the first question right now. Hey, Ma Hippo is here. Glad to have you join me. Okay. The first question came from a viewer/member. And this is it. It's about asking about people's jobs. I wonder how to ask people's jobs. Let's update that and clarify that. I'm wondering how to ask about, right? I'd say about people's jobs. Sometimes people work for two things. One job is to pay for their lives. The other one is for what they want to do or be. Okay, I understand what this person's saying, so let's just clarify. Sometimes people work two jobs. That's the expression, right? Why would a person work two jobs? It could be different reasons. One, you don't have to repeat job. One is to pay, you know what I'd say? Pay the bills. Like to earn a living. Pay the bills, it's just you're making enough to survive and pay your expenses. One is to pay the bills. And the other is maybe the other one we could say is their true passion or true calling. That could be it, right? Somebody is a musician. They haven't had that big break yet. So perhaps, they're working a full-time job in a store, for example, but their true passion is music. So, working at the store pays the bills, but they're still pursuing their passion. Their true calling is music, being a musician. So it could be something like that. Sometimes people work two jobs. One is to pay the bills. I'll put a comma there. And the other one is their true calling. You could also take out that. Usually if we can take out words that are unnecessary, it makes the message more concise and can help with clarity. This is just another request. We'll put that in parentheses. And vocabulary related to people's work. Related to work. How about we could take out people? We understand that people are the ones who do the work. So here's our clarified question. I'm wondering how to ask about people's jobs. Sometimes people work two jobs. One is to pay the bills and the other is their true calling. You might also use a dash or a colon there. Okay? All right. Let's get into this. So what have I prepared for you? Questions. Okay. Which questions sound natural and appropriate? Let me go bigger. Can you see that? Look at 1A, B, and C. Do all of them sound fine? Do all of them sound appropriate? Does one sound better than the other? Read them aloud and think about that. Sometimes you can come up with a question and the question is grammatically correct, but perhaps it's not the most common wording. It doesn't sound as natural. Out of these three, you know which one I would ask? This one. What do you do? And by the way, I do have a video on asking about people's jobs, just go onto my channel, click the playlist English for Professionals, or just type in what do you do or work, and you'll be able to see that in the search results. What do you do? In fast English, it sounds like, what do you do? What do you do? Oh, what do you do? This is part of our introductions. I'm Jennifer, you're Kathy. Hey, Kathy, nice to meet you. Later in the conversation, so Kathy, what do you do? And Kathy will tell me what her profession is. What do you do? Okay. What do you do? What do you do? Question 2. Again, I'll put this a little bit bigger for you. To A, B, and C. Do all sound fine? Do all sound natural? What question would you ask? My hippo, you're doing well so far. You agree with me, 1B? And it might help for me to read the questions aloud, and then you can hear, does it sound right or not? So let me read to A, B, and C. How long have you been teaching? Or Kathy, how long have you been working for company ABC? How long have you been, what? A dancer. Oh, you dance. Wonderful. How long have you been doing that? When did your teaching begin? When did your dancing begin, for example? At what point in time did you become a teacher? At what point in time did you become a dancer? Yeah, my hippo, you're on the ball. These sound a little weird to me. Grammatically correct, but not what we usually ask. Oh, what do you do? Kathy says, oh, I'm a dancer. Oh, fascinating. Like, she'll tell me what kind of dancing, right? How long have you been dancing? How long have you been performing? How long have you been doing what? Let's come up with another one. Okay. Whoops. 3A, B, and C. Read them to yourself. Do all of them sound good? One or two of them sound good? So imagine we have this conversation with Kathy. Kathy, so what do you do? She says, I'm a dancer, right? Maybe she does, she's a dance instructor. She teaches people like hip hop dance. She works with teens. Oh, wow, cool. How long have you been dancing? How long have you been teaching dance? Then we ask, we want to know, does she do that all the time, some of the time? Is this just for fun? Let me read them. Do you work full-time? Does your job have a full-time schedule? Do you do that full-time? I guess I'd ask, do you do that full-time? Do you work full-time? Does your job have a full-time schedule? Actually, as I take this one out, sounds weird. I might ask 3A, oh, you dance, you teach? Do you work full-time? Like, I want to know, is that a full-time job, or is this something that she does part-time, maybe at nights or after school? Do you do that full-time? 3C is also possible. Oh, you're a dance instructor. Do you do that full-time? Do you work full-time? You say, yeah, I work 6 days a week. Okay, let's go to the next one. Whoops. Money. This is a tricky one. This is also cultural. So you need to have some familiarity with money and how we talk about money in American culture from country to country, and even, I guess, from group to group. Some people are more open, could be generational as well. Do we talk about money or not? How do we talk about it? If you're curious about Kathy being a dance instructor and how much money she makes, you definitely would say, so Kathy, how much money do you make? Don't ask that. But would you ask for A, B, or C? Think about it. I'll pause for a moment. You read them quietly, then I'll read them aloud. Okay, let me read. 4A. Kathy, do you earn a lot of money doing that? Do you do that just to pay the bills? Do you mind me asking if that pays well? The basic answer is you have to be careful in general. You can't usually ask straight out how much money a person makes. It's considered private information. Even close friends, we don't even ask, like, what's your salary? What do they pay you? If they choose to open up, it's their initiative. We usually don't ask straight out about people's earnings. Okay, my hippo's guessing 4A. Yeah, I would not, I personally wouldn't ask this one. Like, because you're making an assumption about the nature of someone's work, that probably does not pay well. So if they say, of course, they're a lawyer, they're a surgeon, that the question within American culture would be a little silly, because we have a basic understanding that those professions earn well. But let's say someone is a street performer or a portrait artist out on the street, and you're like, well, their work is beautiful, but do you earn a lot of money doing that? You could, if you feel that the relationship is casual enough, trusting enough, open enough to ask that. But again, you're making an assumption that perhaps that work doesn't have value that translates into money. So I wouldn't ask it that way. Same thing, if you do this, it's almost the opposite. Let's say it's a job where someone works in a restaurant. And if you say, oh, do you do that just to pay the bills? That could also be rude because now you're jumping to conclusions that working in a restaurant is something that people don't do willingly. What if somebody loves that work? What if they're a hostess, or what's maitre d', right? They love working in that environment, and they love working with the customers who come in that way. They're very good at welcoming people and organizing things. And in any case, it's almost the flip side. Like, yeah, I'm sure it's pays enough, but if you ask that question, you're almost assuming that people wouldn't choose that kind of job unless they had to earn enough to pay their bills. So if I were to choose any of these, I'd go with 4C, because first of all, you're sort of apologizing, like, do you mind? Like, is it possible for me to ask this? And if you want to say no, it's okay. So using do you mind makes it more polite, okay? And then you can continue on. Do you mind me asking if that pays well? And this could be appropriate, especially if it's the kind of job you wouldn't expect to pay well, but perhaps it does. If they are a street performer, Kathy's a dancer, and she performs with a group of people out on the street. You're like, wow, like, you get big crowds, but do you mind me asking if that pays well? And she has the freedom to say specifics or to answer generally. Say, actually, yeah, it pays the bills and more. Like, on some weekends, we earn really, really well. And she may not specify exactly what really, really well means, but you can Google it, by the way. It's like what the average street performer earns per hour. There are some locations where a really talented street performer can earn decently, more than what they would earn in retail or hospitality. So, do you mind me asking if that pays well? So these are the questions. If I were talking to someone about work, I would definitely ask 1B, 2A, possibly 3 and 4. Now you're getting into specifics. So, Kathy, what do you do? Or Fast, what do you do? How long have you been teaching? How long have you been a dance instructor? How long have you been doing that? You perform on the street and you gather crowds. That's, wow, what confidence, how amazing. How long have you been doing that? Do you do that full time? They'll say, oh no, just in the evenings and weekends, right? Do you mind me asking if that pays well? And you just ask out of curiosity, and the person has the freedom to respond openly or vaguely. Don't push, okay? Does that answer your question, my hippo? Yeah, for A and B, I wouldn't ask those, okay? Any other questions related to these? Please feel free to put in the comments. So let me bring some more suggestions into the screen here, or onto the screen. Talking about your own work, you might need to explain if you have more than one job. What do you do? Well, actually, I have 2 jobs, right? I work here and I work there. I have a full-time job and one I do on the side. So a part-time job, something you do on the side, could be to earn extra money, or perhaps it's your actual passion. When you do something on the side, it's not part of your daily schedule for the bulk of the day. It's something you do extra for some reason. Some people have 2 part-time jobs or 3 part-time jobs. I've heard of that too. And you can explain, I have 2 part-time jobs. I work 7 days a week. Here's another one that could apply to people who do not necessarily have jobs per se, but different activities that lead to making money. That's called revenue streams. So as well, I have one full-time job, and then I have some different revenue streams. You know, maybe they're a content creator, maybe they're a blogger. They could have different ways to earn money. A vague way to answer about money is, yeah, it pays well. It pays pretty well. So you're not naming numbers. If someone asks, wow, you teach dance, or you're a barista. Does anyone know barista? Like you work in a coffee shop. So it pays well. Or if someone's unhappy with how much they earn, they say, well, it pays the bills, meaning it's enough. It helps me pay my expenses. There's not a lot of extra cash flowing, but it pays the bills. These are some typical responses that people might give if there's some kind of question, either directly or indirectly, about how much a person earns. You can say, oh, it pays well. It pays pretty well. Or it pays the bills. Now, you might explain that you have a full-time job, but my passion is blah, blah, blah. What? So you might explain, well, during the day I have this job. I'm an accountant, and I do enjoy it, but my passion is painting. And so the person might explain how they're painting and they're turning that into a revenue stream, perhaps. Hey, Stunning Lad 1 came. Okay. All right, so just to review, the question was, how do we ask about people's jobs, and what is some vocabulary related to work? So we have some questions. I'll read them for the last time so you can listen, repeat. What do you do? What do you do? How long have you been teaching? Do you work full time? Do you do that full time? Do you mind me asking if that pays well? And again, you have some nice phrasing, natural phrasing that you could use if you get on the topic of work in conversation. Okay? Any questions related to jobs and work? Do you mind me asking? Just checking over here to make sure. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to jump into the second question, and as promised, as time allows, I'm going to give you another bonus here. Remember, I said that if you click on the new link on my page, you'll get to the opt-in page. This is my free pronunciation toolkit that you can get. All you need to do on this page is click, enter your name and email, click, and you will get a download link. So I will give you a preview of what's in the toolkit towards the end of this live stream. Okay? All right, coming back here. Let's go on to the next question. And by the way, I mentioned before, I have a playlist called English for Professionals. So please check that out. Okay, if you want to see more vocabulary related to work, there's some videos, old and new, there. Okay. The second question came from another viewer / member. What's the state of passive? What's the state of passive? Okay, grammar question. As opposed to the dynamic passive. So there's generally the passive voice. We have active voice and passive voice. And then the passive itself can be divided into state of passive and dynamic passive. If you look at this word, inside you see state, state of. So we use the state of passive to describe a state or a situation. Okay. What are we describing? The state of someone, the state of something. The form is the following. We use be plus the past participle. And here's where the state of passive differs from the dynamic passive, right? We can use a preposition other than by. So the dynamic passive, there's usually the receiver of the action and the doer of the action. Like, the kids were out playing baseball and they broke a window, right? Someone hit a home run and the ball went through the window, right? So the window was broken by their ball, right? So the ball did the breaking. So we have what received the action, the window, and what caused it, what did it, what's the agent. We say doer or agent usually. The ball, it was broken by a baseball flying through a home run baseball. But the state of passive focuses on the state, not action received. So that means we can use by, but very often other prepositions are used with the state of passive, because what happens is the past participle functions a bit more like an adjective describing someone's state. These are two examples. I'm going to ignore it. You hear me talk a lot about my wonderful cousin Gina. So she's in Pennsylvania, not Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is located in western Pennsylvania. I'm related to Gina. She's my cousin, and she lives in western Pennsylvania, not too far from Pittsburgh. So is located in is an example of the state of passive. We have the form of be, past participle, located, and then a preposition that's other than by. Again, you can use by, but with the state of passive, other prepositions are possible. Not only possible, but they're commonly used. Is located in. I'm related to Gina. She's my cousin. Here's our verb to be, past participle, related, and to whom? To Gina. Okay? So again, state of passive, uses be plus past participle plus a preposition other than by. And it's usually not possible to rewrite the state of passive sentences with active verbs, right? When I say Pittsburgh is located in western Pennsylvania, isn't it strange to ask who located it there? What located it there? It's not like someone or something put it there. It just, that's the way it happened. That's the way events unfolded. Now, way back when, there were people who established the city and say, let's call this Pittsburgh. But in general, when we're talking about geographical location and we use is located in, it's just a state. We're describing where Pittsburgh is. So it's illogical and weird to try to turn it into a sentence with an active verb. Okay? Stunning Lad One is sharing an odd story about your foot went through the ceiling. We could turn that this so the floorboards were broken by your foot. Okay. Same thing here. I'm related to Gina. Who related me to her? What related me to her? That's weird to ask. So it's not possible, or it's very weird and awkward to try to rewrite these kinds of sentences with the state of passive into sentences with dynamic passive. So that's a big difference. We're describing states of people or things. The trickiest thing about the state of passive is not understanding why it's used, but how, meaning with which prepositions. You need to know that located in is a collocation. It's a common phrase. It's a set phrase. These words go together. Related to. Are you related to her? Are you related to him? Are you two related to each other? Related to is a combination that you need to learn. Okay? So if you want to learn the commonly used combinations, practice, reading and practice. And there are online exercises to check your familiarity. You could put a search on Google and do state of passive exercises. Today we enjoy an abundance of interactive exercises online. Sometimes there could be a mistake or two or here, so it's nice to have someone check your work. That's the advantage of studying with me on Patreon, for example. So if you have have a question you can ask quickly and easily and get an answer. You do need to learn the collocations, though, with the state of passive. So here are some that perhaps you're already familiar with. When we talk about relations that we have, relationships, be married, divorced, or related. Look at the prepositions. Married to someone, divorced from someone, related to someone. Those are about relationships. And again, you could see the state of passive. These are past participles, but these past participles move over into the category of adjective, right? Are you married? Are you divorced? Basically, you're asking those questions with adjectives, right? So adjectives plus prepositions. If you're talking about a thing and its nature, you have collocations like these. Be listed as, be composed of. And geographical location, we can use these collocations. Be located in, be surrounded by. Yep. And by the way, a couple people have been asking, different people have been asking me questions about active and passive on YouTube this past week. And the other thing to know is that even with the dynamic passive, yes, maybe you can rewrite it into a passive sentence, but the question is why? Why are you doing that? Do you really need to shift the focus to the receiver? Do you want to not mention the doer? There has to be a good reason, because sometimes even though you can change it around and switch active to passive, it might also just sound weird. So just because you can doesn't always mean you should. So be careful. I have a video in my grammar playlist on active and passive in general. It's a good overview and review of the passive voice. Okay? All right, so we have a set of questions. I'll start with 4. Yeah, I'll start with these 4. Maybe I can actually squeeze 5 on here. Let me see. Yes, I can. Look. Maybe if I go a little bit. Let me see if I can play around with the font like this and go, there we go. Then I'll make my screen a little bigger and it's all on one page. How's that? Okay. So I'll pause for a moment. What you need to do in these sentences, oops, I wonder if you saw that answer. Okay. All right. I'll pause. You fill in the blanks. What is missing? Prepositions. Take a look. Use your instincts. Use your experience. What sounds right? If you don't know, guess. Move on to the next one. Okay? Take a look. Okay, another minute. Okay. We have 2 members actively contributing. If you're watching, perhaps quietly, but still noting the answers on your own, that's fine. Okay. So we have classified, right? Verb to be. Here's our past participle, classified. Let's just put that in another color so we can say classified what? You guys have been good. Classified as. Did you know that peanut butter is classified as a liquid by airport security? I was on Google and I was just curious about what's a liquid, what isn't. Even my son, when we went on our trip, he wasn't sure about some of his toiletries because he thought, well, they're thick, but it doesn't matter how thick. If they still sort of move a little bit like gels, they are a liquid. So we ran into some trouble with some of his toiletries that just had to be thrown away because they were classified as liquids by airport security. Peanut butter is very common. It's a common snack food that people eat here in the US. And so it's classified as a liquid by airport security. So you would have to limit how much you take. Plus, I wouldn't take it because there are plenty of people with allergies to that. Okay. Yes, some of them, there could sometimes be more than one preposition. If you're not sure, go to dictionaries to check. Those of you who've studied with me on Patreon or one-on-one know that there are plenty of other tools to use, and I share them when I teach to tell you about different other tools that I use for my own writing when I'm not sure, 100% sure about what preposition goes there. But learner dictionaries are a great place to start, like Merriam-Webster, Collins, Longman. Okay, the Philippines. Did you know it's made up of thousands of islands? I think like over 7,000 made up of. So made up of thousands of islands, and they're divided into. Actually, go into them again. You have to see it as verb to be, past participle plus a preposition. The Philippines is made up of thousands of islands, and they're divided into 3 main groups, 3 main divisions: Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Using affirmations, like those positive statements, is linked to. You guys got that right. Linked to. When if you talk about a connection, is connected to, is linked to. They both use to. Using affirmations is linked to greater self-esteem and lower stress. Positive affirmations aren't just used. I've seen a couple different answers. Yeah, I personally would go with in. I think for would work because for is for purpose, but in is like in a situation. That's how I was thinking when I was writing this, used in. But I would accept for if you're going to focus on purpose. Be used in. And when is that used? It's used in this situation. It's used in that situation. Or it's used for that purpose. It's used for this purpose. In or for, I would accept. They can be used daily. The words aren't filled with, right? With narcissism, right? Just thoughts about how great I am. When people say positive words like, I am smart, I am confident, I am enough. They're not trying to be like, hey, I'm like so awesome, better than everyone else. It's not about being a narcissist. It's about keeping up your self-esteem. And they're meant to keep up your self-defense against external and internal criticism. That's the purpose of affirmations. Okay, so used in or used for and filled with, that's a collocation. Gratitude shouldn't be restricted, and you guys got that one right, to. Whoopsies. Be restricted to. Okay. Another similar word, limited, would use the same preposition. Be limited to, be restricted to. Okay, those are all examples of state of passive. Be restricted to, be limited to, be filled with, be used in, be linked to, be made up of, be classified as, be divided into. We'll add those to this list here. Those are examples of the state of passive. Okay. My suggestion is even this short list, there are longer lists, but if you see these kinds of collocations and you're like, I know that, but when I write or I speak, I sometimes hesitate. I can't remember the exact preposition. Then create some examples. Say your examples aloud. Write them down as well. You want to practice. You need to activate these combinations. It's basically vocabulary. Vocabulary is not just a single word. It's how do you use that word. You need to know the grammar of a vocabulary word. Vocabulary and grammar go together. It's not enough to understand what restriction or restricted means. How do you use it? Restricted to, but place a restriction on. These are all collocations that a learner's dictionary will teach you, but then you need to activate it by creating sentences. Use it in a meaningful way. Okay? Let me pause for a moment and I'll do webcam only. I have some books in front of me just to show you a couple of books in my library. This is Understanding and Using English Grammar, Betty Azar, Stacey Hagan. This book has been around for a long time. It's a 3-level series. This is the 3rd one, but it has a really nice chart with preposition combinations with adjectives and verbs. And then the other one that I have open right now is a book that I co-authored, Next Generation Grammar. And the lead author, my co-author, Pamela Vittorio. And we also have some nice charts in the back. But I have this open currently to the one unit where we talk about the state of passive. And we have our own list of combinations that are common and should be learned. So how about I'll just do a quick little quiz here. I'll call out a combination of be plus the past participle. You tell me the preposition. So if I say be restricted, you type be restricted to. Okay? If you're not in the chat, just write it down and we'll confirm. Okay? Accustomed to. So yes, you have to think of it as a unit. That's good. No, that's not bad to do something automatically. It means you've used it so often that you know it's a set phrase, right? Like, I'm accustomed to doing something. Accustomed to what? Accustomed to doing what, my hippo? So the idea is to make these collocations automatic. You want them to be very familiar, that you don't have to think, so that when you're speaking and writing, the combination is there. It's the reason why we learn collocations is to sound accurate, and so that we're all using the same blocks, and it's familiar and easier for communication. But instead of thinking about single words, making up your sentence, if you work with bigger blocks, you can build those sentences more quickly. So collocations are a great way to learn English. Okay, just a few. Here we go. Be annoyed. Be annoyed. What preposition would you use? Be annoyed. Annoyed is a participial adjective, right? It's a participle. It's functioning as an adjective. Be annoyed. Yes, Mahiba. I would accept be annoyed by, be annoyed with. Both can work. Be annoyed by, be annoyed with. Okay. So you guys can, how about you type that for me? My hippo, stunning lad 1. Let's write both variations in the chat so people can see that. Be annoyed with, be annoyed by. Both work. Okay. Okay, how about this one? Be associated. Associated Be associated. Thank you. Be associated. Yes, be associated with. Hey, Kenneth Yip is here, joining in. Glad to have you here. Okay. Associated with, it's like a connection. Isn't it interesting that you're linked to someone, connected to someone, but associated with? Okay. How about be exhausted? Be exhausted. Again, state of passive is describing someone's state. How do you feel? Exhausted. Exhausted is like very tired, but be exhausted. Why is this a result? We use the prepositional phrase to explain it resulted from something. Be exhausted. Think about you walked up a flight of stairs, 10 floors. You're exhausted. You're thinking with? From. Let's write that whole phrase. Be exhausted from. Be exhausted from. Members, you can type that in the chat for everyone. Be remembered. Be remembered. Be remembered. Maybe your great uncle or great aunt passed, but there are a lot of memories left behind, good ones. They are remembered. Be remembered. Let me type that there. You probably could come up with a by phrase, but if we're thinking a preposition other than by, you're remembered for something, right? It's similar to the combination known for that I just had in my most recent YouTube video. We had known as, known for, known to, but when you're talking about why someone or something is memorable, we use for. Like Elvis Presley was known for combining different genres of music, right? That's what he was known for. Your great Uncle Jack will be remembered for his humor, for his warmth, for his generosity. Why do people remember him? How do people remember him? He'll be remembered for what? Okay, let me see if I can come up with one more that. You know, this one is a common one people wonder about. Sometimes more than one preposition is possible. What would you use with frightened? Be frightened. Two possibilities, I see. Frightened. What would you use with frightened? I would go with of and by. Be frightened of something, be frightened by a sound, perhaps, right? I'm frightened of, by. Again, check a dictionary. The Learner's Dictionaries, that's a good place to start. There are other tools, one of which I can mention is like the Ngram Viewer. Use the Google Ngram Viewer. That's a possibility. Okay, so actually, let's see if I can do a quick demo of that. Let's go to NViewer. Look at that. If you can see my screen, frightened of and by or really high. People do use frightened at, but it's far less common, you can see. Again, if you go to a dictionary like Merriam-Webster's or Longman, you'll see that this is helpful too. Again, this is the on Google Books Ngram Viewer. You can see what people have used. Okay. Super. All right. So if you are a member of my channel, if you'd like to become a member of my channel, you can do so now. Click join. And after this live stream, I'll be creating some follow-up tasks. And one of them will definitely be on the state of passive. And I'll test your knowledge of collocations. Do you know the combinations with different prepositions? So I'll give you some practice there. Okay. I am going to give you that promised little preview of the pronunciation toolkit, but first I wanted to remind you, speaking of which, affirmations. I talked about affirmations, what are they? I've been sharing some on Instagram, so if you follow me on Instagram, but I also post a few on YouTube as well, but on Instagram I can add some music and it's a nicer experience. These are examples of affirmations you could use as a learner. I know more today than yesterday. I love to learn. I am smart and capable. And you say these things and you believe them and you use them to fill yourself with positivity. And that positive mindset is where you want to be when you enter your studies and when you go through your studies, so that difficulties don't rob you of your self-esteem. You want to stay positive, stay strong, stay confident, so that you can meet every challenge and meet with greater success. Okay, so say to yourself, I'm smart, I'm capable, I can do this. And yeah, I made some mistakes with the state of passive today, but you know what? I know more today than yesterday, and I love to learn. You say that and create the right mindset, okay? I haven't seen any other questions, but of course, if you're a member, feel free to post those questions. We can address them at next month's live stream. I also do a pretty good job of checking comments daily in general on YouTube. So if you have a language question after watching a video, feel free to post your question in that comment section. And I'm pretty good at responding to questions in general, okay? I still stick around, don't leave yet, because I'm going to give you a preview of that pronunciation toolkit, but I want to take this opportunity right now just to say thank you. Thank you to my kind-hearted patrons on Patreon. Shatri is a new kind-hearted patron. She's pledged $2 a month, and I thank her very much, or him. Shatri, thank you. Okay. All right. Also, I want to say thank you to the people who joined me recently. I had my first live book discussion, and it was a small but wonderful group, and we talked about some of the main themes in my story. If you're curious, you can get your copy on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. Just look it up, Being a YouTuber, One Creator's Bumpy Road to 1 Million Subscribers. Okay? And perhaps down the line I'll have another book discussion to meet with people who'd like to talk about the book with me. Okay. All right. So as promised, guys, what's going on this month is I have updated my links on my channel page. You click this, you get to the opt-in page, and for the present time, you can get your free pronunciation toolkit that goes beyond the videos I have on learning vowel sounds in American English. Vowel sounds are so very important for clarity. There's an acceptable range that you can fall in. Once you start going outside of that that range, misunderstanding can happen. So you want to train so that you have enough accuracy to be clearly understood and also to clearly understand others. Of course, there's variation from American to Australian to New Zealand to British English, but again, there's an acceptable range of what is comprehensible when we talk about vowel sounds. So I would put vowel sounds up there as one of the aspects you need to master to have clear communication. I also, of course, have the playlist on intonation, which is very important. Vowel sounds is a great place to start. Watch the free videos. The pronunciation toolkit will help you go beyond through independent practice. Click here, enter your name and email. You'll get the download link. And what are you getting? You're getting the MP3, the PDF, and a short how-to video. Okay, so you'll see the 15 vowel sounds reviewed. You'll listen to my model, and I'll go over the key words for them. Why is it important? You don't just practice individual sounds, and then we practice them, contrasting them with one another. So in words and sentences, but this is important right here, when I give you practice with minimal pairs. Minimal pairs means the words are pretty much the same except for the minimal difference, which is a single vowel sound. Can you hear the difference between these sets of words? Those who work with me one-on-one do these kinds of drills. So for example, if you're studying by yourself, one thing you could do is listen, repeat, and then record yourself saying these minimal pairs. Record and listen. Can you hear a clear difference between the different words? If you have a study partner, this is something that I've done with private students. So we have 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something that you can do is you take turns speaking. So first I go, and the listener has to hold up their hand, what they hear. If I say bait, that's number 3. If I say beat, that's number 1. So one person speaks, the other person listens, and they guess which word is said. Then you can switch roles. So you can try that right now. This is important. Of course, phrases and sentences in conversation give context, so that helps people understand what you're saying. But still, even if you said a single word, you would hope that your listener understood clearly what that word was. That's why minimal pairs help to make differences, minimal differences, very clear. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll say a word, you guess which one, I'll confirm. Okay? Bait. 3. Beat. It's 1. Bet. Bet. Is 4. Bit. Bet. Is 4 again. Bat. Is 5. Okay? So beat, bit, bait, bet, bat. And that's how you can practice with minimal pairs. Okay? Go through the central vowels. There's also minimal pairs there. And then there's minimal pairs for the back vowels. And same thing. Now we have 4 columns. If you're working by yourself, you can practice, listen, repeat using my model. Then record yourself. Say the minimal pairs. Can you hear the difference? Is it clear to your ears? If you have a study partner, take turns. Your study partner can go first, calling out words from the different columns. You hold up your fingers to confirm what you hear. We'll see. Do you understand clearly? Did they pronounce sounds clearly? We'll try one. How about we'll try this group right here. So we have 1, 2, 3. Which one am I saying? 1, 2, or 4? 1, 2, or 4 in this line. Okay. Suit. Soot. Saw. That's a little easier. Coming up to here. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay. Full. All. Fool. Full. Full. So full, 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 fall. Okay. Hey, Manuel. So again, in the pronunciation toolkit, you get practice with individual words, minimal pairs, sentences, and there's also a paragraph at the end for oral reading practice. So it puts everything together. Again, it's a free pronunciation toolkit, guys. Just click, enter your name and email, and you'll get the download link. Okay? Lots of goodies. Okay. We'll be ending. I'm going to check the chat, make sure I didn't miss any questions. And well, better late than never, right? Okay, guys. So thank you for joining me. Again, in the first half, we talked about questions about people's work, about their jobs, vocabulary related to work. We also then looked at the state of passive, and I will create follow-up tasks for my members on these topics. And for everyone, there is that free pronunciation toolkit that you can add to your resources today. I hope you click, get your download link, and enjoy. More importantly, I hope it helps you achieve greater accuracy and confidence with your pronunciation. Okay? All right. Thank you. And I see a wonderful super sticker, super chat. I thank you very much, Stunning Lad 1. Very generous. I appreciate the support. And I wish you all a wonderful month in November. Visit. I will be trying to create at least one new full lesson. I'll upload some shorts for you. Be sure to follow me on Instagram as well. I'm posting there. We just had a live, by the way, a Halloween live on Instagram. That recording is available. And from the live on Instagram, we created a story about a monster, and that led to reels that you could use. It's a story that I created with contributions from the viewers, and so we ended up with about a 2-minute story. And the challenge there is for you to listen, understand, and then retell the story using your own words. So it's a listening and speaking task that you are welcome to try on Instagram. Okay? All right, guys. So happy to have you here. Guys, thank you for staying up late. I know some of you are up super duper late. I appreciate it. We are changing our clocks. So again, when I do live events, always click the countdown to see the countdown in your local time. Right now, it's a little after 10 a.m. and I'm signing off, wishing you a good afternoon, a good evening, and a wonderful November. Thank you, everyone.